Hey.
Hey everybody, how are you?
Good. Enjoying the
Good.
fall weather.
As good as you were 3 seconds ago when we were all talking.
Even better now.
Even better.
I'm even better. I just got so much better in the past 3 seconds.
Yeah. I just got very distracted and literally the second that Sam pushed record. So I'm just fumbling. Okay, so we're missing Raven tonight.
One short.
Yeah.
She will be missed. Hey, Raven. But
She's still exhausted from the trip.
Yeah. So essentially, we have had an insanely busy, say month, preparing to go to the hearing, going to the hearing, all of the releases, the two doco series or mentories, however you want to look at it, and then the CNN special that was released and then updated post-hearing. And then, of course, the hearing itself, which was insane. And we've really just powered that. So we have a lot to talk about.
Yep.
agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, that hearing was intense. A lot happened, I feel like.
Yeah.
It always feels like things get pushed back continually at each hearing that we go to. And this one, it actually felt like things got dealt with, which was kind of a shocking moment, I think, for all of us. So,
Well, it was shocking. I mean, especially in light of the allegations that were released with the New York Times second doco film, Controlling Britney Spears. It was shocking because literally we now know for a fact that she has been requesting this very thing like every day, the whole time, like every single day. Like even before it happened, she said, I know this is going to happen right now, but I just don't want my dad doing it. She's been asking for him to be gone for 13 years and he finally left. So it was pretty epic.
it's interesting that the former judge on this case, what Reva Gotts, like, it's amazing to me that for 13 years, somebody who she deemed incapable of being able to make decisions for herself was somehow capable of being able to see who was not right to be able to handle a conservatorship. She knew from the get-go that Jamie was incapable of doing this job, told the court that for 13 years and was continuously ignored. It's just really shocking how we got here. So, and I'm glad that we're making progress and we are where we are. It was an awesome day. So I'm still really excited. So
Did
it's
you
literally.
know
Go ahead.
Did you know that judge went to the Vegas show with VIP front row tickets?
she's the worst person. I honestly think she's one of
really?
the worst people in this case. I think, don't get me wrong, everybody involved in the conservatorship from the top to the bottom who played a role in it has some penance that they need to pay at some point. But at the end of the day, she had full say. She had full stop. She was the one who controlled this, period. She was the judge.
Yeah, and she went a step further. It wasn't even just full stop shop. It was, who does she think she is asking for anything? What do you mean? Who does she think she is?
She's literally the
human
conservative
being.
Well,
She
also
is
she's
the
the
person
conservative.
that
Fucking person.
matters.
Supposed to be acting in her. That's literally why I think Rosengart made such a huge impression on all of us, was how many times he referenced her best interest. And I think that that's where former Judge Gotts went wrong. So,
And where her former attorney went wrong. I mean, me and
Amen.
Sam talked about this earlier. We know who Sam Ingham is. We know attorneys just like Sam Ingham who are lazy and greedy and unorganized and yes men.
And in over their heads.
Way in over their heads.
Way.
I mean, he just did whatever there was no advocacy in his approach.
I mean, in controlling the latest installment of the New York Times documentary, they brought up, I think I want to say 2014, Sam Ingham told the judge that Britney desired to change her lifestyle, to get married and have children and maybe retire. And the judge said, well, I don't think we took her right to get married away from her. She has that right. You just might not want to tell her that she has that right. And Ingham responded jokingly, well, judge, somehow that didn't come up in the conversation. He should have gone right back to her and said, if you want to get married, go get married. You have that right. But also, let's get out of this conservatorship.
Not only did you have the right, but your spouse then would have had the opportunity to save you because they would have had standing to intervene to terminate. So,
we've talked about that before because isn't that how a few people who have been in conservatorships, specifically musicians, have gotten out of it? I think it was the Beach Boys. Was that the one?
It was either the Beach Boys. It was a B for sure. Beach Boys, B-52s, Bee Gees.
I can't remember.
It was the wife. It was the wife.
This has worked before. So you literally kept her from gaining access to somebody who could potentially get her out of this.
At the same time, she's asking to get out of it every day. Like Sam Ingham's putting it in his papers, in his motion in 2014, the same one Sam's referencing right now. He literally says she wants to see this termination, immediately. Like she wants this done.
Here's my question with that. And I think a lot of people are probably that are not in the legal world are probably wondering, how is it that this attorney that clearly was not looking out for his client's best interest, how is it that he's still an attorney? And I wonder, it makes me wonder, is it possible that the bar could investigate him, that, his license could be in jeopardy based on this? It really makes me wonder how, because of just how egregious it was, like, are there going to be repercussions for him?
I think there's a couple things. I think the bar could definitely investigate it from a professional responsibility standpoint. But I think if you really just look at where the head of the octopus is, so to speak, it all is the judge, right? So Sam Ingham is filing these papers all along the way that say she doesn't want her dad as a conservator and she wants it terminated, and she seems to think she can take care of her own stuff. And all along the way, Gates is going, I don't care. She's not a human. I don't deal with her. I deal with her dad. We have this thing going on right now. Just don't tell her. Basically, really, really grossly neglecting her job as a judge. So the bar could investigate, but I think, from the point that she wasn't allowed to hire her own attorney and the fact that she continued throughout the conservatorship to try to hire her own attorney and that never happened is insane. And then Sam can speak to this too, but one of the biggest issues with Sam Ingham from a legal perspective is that all these orders were agreed to. He would proffer something, Jamie's team would agree to it. They would proffer something, he would agree to it. Let's extend the time. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's, whatever. They were best friends. Okay. It was him and Viv on speed dial. Oh man.
But that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the thing. That's not the way one of the things that I really want to get out there is yeah, that's exactly what was going on, but that's not how it's supposed to be in a normal circumstance. In this kind of situation, in a conservatorship, in these proceedings, they're not supposed to be best friends. They're not supposed to be, agreeing with the other party. They're not a team.
You're right, but only if they're fighting. In a real, I think in a theoretical utopian conservatorship, everybody is best friends because they're all working toward the same interest, which is the interest of the conservatee. If you actually needed a team of people to run your affairs for you, to take care of you, body and estate, then you would want them all to be best buddies because they would all be focused on helping you. In this case, it was about abusing and using and pimping her out, literally.
Conflict of interest, financial gain versus the best interest of Britney. And the financial gain always outweighed Britney's interest, which is completely backwards.
He was just like a pimp. I mean, he just pushed her. I mean, okay, so just to redirect, because we could talk about this stuff all day. I know I can. I've done most of the talking. Let's talk about the documentaries, because we keep bringing up a lot of things that were investigated and reported by the New York Times. Yeah. And that we are using that information to form our opinions as we sit here today. So there were 3 that came out, and I'm going to rank them. I think we're all going to rank them. And for me, Netflix was the worst, followed very closely by CNN. And then, of course, the New York Times was my favorite. And just let me be clear, the New York Times was like reporting. They like did work, and they found out information, and they talked to people, and they got people to open up and disclose information. This is evidence, despite what Vivian said in court last time. This is going to be used, Vivian. I mean, it's evidence. So, no. And CNN did a great job of regurgitating that information. And Netflix did like a weird job. Like, I don't know. There was just a lot of dissonance for me between the real feelings about this case and about her, particularly as an individual. They just lost something, and they didn't really expose anything either. The New York Times was just like bombshell, 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 bombshell. That's a lot of work. It's hard work, and they did that really fast. Like I'm impressed. So
no, I think that their reporting will actually lead to court filings and criminal charges, perhaps. Like there's a pretty strong chance that there will be criminal charges that follow.
100%.
I would imagine.
100%. There should be. I mean, and obviously Rosengart doesn't have any control over that, but I would assume.
In the latest filings, doesn't kind of Rosengart kind of make a reference to some of those things? I feel like.
Yeah, and his supplementations to the motion to suspend Jamie, he alludes pretty heavy-handedly to the possibility of criminal charges for Jamie and others. And he did the hearing as well.
Because like the thing is that when you say Jamie and others, people need to realize that Jamie was not alone in this. He had people, Jamie might be the main villain, but he had a ton of people that enabled him and also were involved in pimping Britney out.
And pimping her and extorting her too.
Exactly. So when we say Jamie, while he is the main player in this and we look at him as the main villain, there are if you open the door behind Jamie are a ton of other people that also allowed this to continue and did nothing about it and
TriStar Entertainment.
I honestly, I see Jamie as the enforcer. He was the one that brought the hammer down on Britney and got her to do what everyone wanted her to do so everyone can make money off of her. He's not a smart, business savvy individual. He doesn't know what the heck he's doing in the entertainment business. But what he had was the power to tell Britney, do this, do that, or suffer this consequence or that consequence. He was the enforcer. He wasn't the mastermind.
I see him as a guy who knew immediately that he had a cash cow that he could use for his benefit, that he would have no idea what to do with it, no idea who to talk to, who to make deals with, how to utilize the asset that he had. So he hires 15, 20, 30 people to do the job of one person. And those 15, 20, 30 people hire 15, 20, 30 of their friends, their agents, it was just this.
Oh no. I honestly, I feel like it's like the multi-level marketing
Oh my God, I was just thinking about
Britney
that. I was
Spears.
literally just
Like
thinking
that-
about like
That's the equivalent of what we have here.
where it starts like the person on top, and then like that person has to bring in 30 people, and then they have
it's a scam. It's a
Yeah.
scam. It's like from the top down, it's a scam. And you've literally created this kind of like, it's going to crumble. It's like your foundation is not steady and it's starting to crumble all around you. So it's kind of nice to see. I'm happy we're here to witness this. So
Yeah, I'm happy we're here to witness it too.
Any more like the filings? What else is in those?
The only filing that I actually looked at was the one that's a generic form. Hold on, Lindsay's texting me. Oh, her computer died. It's a generic form that Zabel had to sign to confirm that he received the conservatorship's handbook that outlines the duties and responsibilities of a conservator.
Well, while we're waiting for Lindsay, what was your favorite moment from the hearing? If you had a question to you, what would be your favorite moment from the hearing while we're just waiting for Lindsay?
What was my favorite moment from the hearing? I think when I heard the protesters outside chanting, and everything going on in the moment that Rosengart was arguing, it was kind of surreal because, I think a lot can be said about how keeping the public eye on this issue has led to this moment in time. If it wasn't for the public interest, Samantha Stark and Liz Day wouldn't or may not have been able to reach out and get some of the exclusives and the sources they got for their 2 installments in the New York Times documentaries. And that, played in. I'm pretty confident that audio that was discussed and controlling Britney Spears was sent to Rosengart. So yeah, I think it was kind of surreal just to be in the courtroom hearing Britney's attorney argue for her, and then to hear the people outside, kind of that noise coming into the courtroom at the same moment was cool.
Amen.
I'll rank mine. I don't know if Lindsay's coming back. She said her.
Yeah, I think she said she's not. I'm telling her we can wait for her, but we'll see. So.
I'll rank my my take on the documentaries. I think controlling Britney Spears was the best of the 3 recent ones. There's just a weight of credibility that they accomplished that's not easy to accomplish when you discuss this issue. And they did a really good job of giving some exposure and covering the fan side of it, but also making it about serious reporting and framing which is the title of the first documentary, framing it in a different way. I mean, they completely flipped the script on how the public perceives Britney's story and her past and what all has gone down. So that was my favorite. The other 2, the CNN one was kind of boring. There wasn't anything too new there. And the Netflix one, the tone was just weird. I don't know. It felt like it was rushed, even though it took 2 years it was in production for 2 years. But there wasn't much new in it.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
I made them tell me, well, we didn't get to Angela, but I made them tell me their favorite parts of the hearing while we waited for you. So
I just did my rankings.
Really nice. I think everybody would agree that the moment we found out Jamie was gone was just the best moment ever.
Honestly, though, like if I had, we lost Sam now. I'm the host now. Yay. Okay. We've just totally lost it. There goes that recording.
We're going to get it together.
I think my favorite moment was, of course, my favorite moment was getting to hear that, Jamie was suspended, but my favorite moment was just being there, like taking it all in. Like, I don't think that I have like a specific moment that.
Oh, girl, I'm going to tell y'all my favorite moment because it's like life-changing for me. It's the minute that I realized that Rosengart was the best attorney I'd ever seen in my entire life. That man, it felt like we were in the midst of a trial for this woman's life, because we were, and it was righteous, and he was like so passionate and so, I don't even know, it was like so descriptive. It felt like you were in like a jury, like I felt like we were the jury in that moment, despite us having no say in anything that was happening. So
it was incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, I loved hearing him. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite moment, it was definitely that, and getting to hear him speak. And I got to hear his entire first, remark, is his first statements. I wouldn't call it like an opening statement because it's not a trial, even though it felt like that. But just hearing that and just the way he presented it, and how articulate he was, and he just started and didn't stop, and just went on and ended it on the perfect note. And that was really my favorite part. But like really all of it, just taking it in, being there and being like a part of something like that, and just all of it to me was just incredible. Like, just the fact that we got to be there and be a part of that.
Yeah, it was great. And I think
that we got to let other people know what was going on. I think if I had to really take in what was my favorite thing, was getting the message out there and letting people know what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, that could be your favorite thing. You could have enjoyed the whole atmosphere, the moment, everything. And I think like ultimately it all ends up being one in the same. Rosengart, an amazing attorney, gets Britney's voice heard. And we were able to let people know while it was happening, which was really, really incredible. And the result was that she's now like totally free of this horribly abusive man, and his friends and cronies. So
that's what I was going to ask you all about is, so Zabel, the new conservator, or the temporary conservator of the estate, his attorney was Justin Gold. So does that mean Vivian's out of a job now?
Yeah, I think so.
She's still billing for all the follow-up and, sending over the files, but she'll be on.
But I mean, yes,
in terms of that, essentially at this point, right? Because she's no longer representing either the conservator of the estate, right? So does she no longer get paid from them then?
So she'll get paid until all of the estate is wound up. So that was one of Rosengart's big points. They still have outstanding discovery, depositions, etc. Jamie will have to pay her though, if he wants her representing him in his own person. And they have no attorney-client privilege as it relates to any and all conversations that they've had up until the point of his suspension. So, ultimately, we shouldn't see a whole lot of Vivian in terms of like substantive work. Now, everybody's on the same team now, is kind of how I view it. And, but she is going to be a part of it until they find all her money, because Vivian is the one person who's going to be able to provide the information for where it all is.
She knows where all the skeletons are buried, essentially. Kind of sounds
like Vivian, I would be pulling a Panama paper. I'd be out.
Here's everything. I'm leaving. Here's everyone else who's a criminal. I'm out.
She's gonna get it. I think she should be the most concerned out of. I think Ingham is discussing as it is safer than she is.
Well, I think too, it's like these people obviously have no ethics, no morals. So it would be really easy for me to imagine them just turning on each other like rabid dogs really.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's gonna happen. 100%.
Oh,
That's always what happens because
for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah.
I see fighting in the future amongst themselves is my guess. So
It's gonna be
Yeah.
epic.
also
I
just
totally
like
agree.
on a personal note, how did y'all feel about like Britney like kind of thanking her fans and everybody for like getting her voice back, essentially? It's how I would phrase it. I mean, like helping her get there.
It honestly made me feel sad. And I'll say why. I'll tell you all why. It made me feel sad that she was in a position to where nobody was listening to her. And it did take the public, her fans, to be the ones to step up and defend her. And while like, it just makes me really sad that while like, I think it's like, in a way, like, of course it touches me that she's thanking everybody and that makes me feel happy. The reason why all this came to is because like people were like, hey, something's going on here. Something's not right. And the fact that that's what it took, that nobody was in her corner on her team. Like it seemed like there was no one. And so it makes me feel sad. It really just, that's really the best way I can put it.
I completely agree with you, Angela. I'm kind of there with the conflicting emotions. You know, it was heartwarming to see her thank everyone, but at the same time, it was just, you know, really upsetting to think that, you know, she had to, if it wasn't for her huge following and people speaking up, who knows how long this would have continued. And also, there are thousands and thousands of people that are in a similar circumstance as her that don't have, you know, millions of people looking out for their best interests and raising the flag and, you know, sounding off the alarm. So, yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I thought it was awesome that she thanked us, but I wish she just didn't have to the point to where she had to rely on us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was really happy. I've been happy to see all her posts. I don't care what anybody says. She clearly feels freer than she's ever felt before. And I'm just glad that she gets to relish in that feeling for a little bit, you know, because it's not over. She's going to have to find all this money. She's going to have to put her family and her father through the ringer. She's going to need that support group. She's going to need her fans. At the end of the day, let her have this moment, you know, like really enjoy it.
Like the sweet taste of freedom.
Yeah, like autonomy.
I feel like, well, it's like you said, like, it's like, obviously I know she's not totally free yet, but it does feel like now she actually is amassing like her actual army. Like it's like she has like
she can call
Rosengart is her
everybody
general, and he is like out there just like pow.
But he's a pit bull. He's awesome. I mean, he's
Yeah.
a fighter.
Seriously, I mean, he really was. It was a real treat for me and Sam to watch an attorney that talented work. Seriously.
And
I mean, we
just
see what,
I mean, God is presence.
Do you feel like it makes you want to like, because I know a lot of stuff has been over Zoom. Does it make you want to go back and like, if there's like a really passionate argument you have to make, do you really want to be in person to make it?
oh,
No.
It makes me want a jury trial.
Yeah.
I'm like starving for one now. I mean, he turned that into a jury trial. I mean, you said it best. He spoke to us 50% of the time. It's an oral argument, babe. Normally that's sterile. You're looking at the judge, you're saying, this is what it is. These are the facts on the record, etc. This was like war. He was like, oh, Vivian. I mean, the back and forth, that kind of stuff does not happen in basic oral arguments. Like it just doesn't. The judge is like, your turn, shut up.
It's over.
And Vivian kept coming back for more and coming back for more, and Rosengart kept shutting her down to the point where it was a completely different Vivian by the end of the hearing. She was beyond defeated. Her voice,
No.
you could hear it.
I'm telling you,
A few minutes before I walked out, she had literally, like, at that point let them kind of go back and forth a few times, and she was like, all right, I'm giving you each like 2 more minutes, and then I'm making some rulings. And then that's when I was like, all right, Sam, I'm heading out. I'm gonna go start trading some info. So
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that it was absolutely hilarious to me when one of the people who follow our Twitter and commented on some of these tweets from the hearing, the back and forth, said, and I'm not going to get this right, but it was something to the extent of, we should all be able to see Vivian humiliated like this. I agree with you. You should. You earned that.
Hear the audio.
It was great.
no, and I think that was I think too, that was like a big motivation for all of us just in doing this, was the fact that, like, Britney herself has wanted all of this to be out in public. Like, she wants these hearings to be public. And at this point, they're now being conducted with like the bare minimum of people being let in. And I just think it's like, that's kind of what motivated a lot, I think, the majority of us, if not all of us, to be like, okay, we're going to figure out this plan, and we're going to make sure that people know what is happening. Because that's like a pretty basic thing to want to know. Like, what's the deal? Like,
here we are sitting in Jefferson County, Kentucky, with, a population near 1 million. We have a really nice big courthouse. We go to it a lot. And I have never in my life ever heard of public access being limited to 11 people. And out of those 11 people, 3 of them we know for sure were with media.
Yeah.
And they just didn't get a press pass in time. And that was so disgusting to me. Oh, Sam knows it's triggering. How dare you? I mean, that's literally the reason that we have publicly accessible courts, is so we can't have secret trials. So for 13 years, people can't be held without liberties. That's how they've been able to do this. Everything has been hush hush and under, like, why do you need the New York Times to investigate? We should all be able to walk right in, get the records, and see what the hell has happened. You know?
And if 11 members of the public that are in the courtroom are allowed to hear what's going on, then why can't people who are the same members of the public, just not in the courtroom, outside, why can't they hear?
What's the other? It's the test now. That this is one good thing about COVID, is that this is going to test these types of things, and transparency in court proceedings, and accessibility from the globe to these matters, particularly Americans who have entitlements under the Constitution to this. Ultimately, you can literally let the public hear everything that's going on. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't affect efficiency, and it doesn't cost you any more.
Yep, we already know you can do it.
You're not
the
doing
fact that they were available for the longest time over audio, and clearly what was it? 95% of the attorneys who were being paid there to be there that day were calling in over some sort of like
Zoom.
It just doesn't make any sense that you can't provide audio access to the public. That's a bare minimum.
What you're doing behind those closed doors. 11 seats, 3 of which are to media affiliates, with the most restrictive rules in the planet. You can leave the courtroom, but you can't come back. What you want is this to be as secret as possible for as long as possible. This is all damage control right now for the Superior Court in Los Angeles. And while I understand that, I think that you're missing the point. The reason there's damage in the first place is because of a lack of transparency. So why don't you just put that sunshine on it?
Anyway, let's open them doors up.
Seriously.
Get all the sunshine.
But yeah, that was so shocking and disgusting, and it did make me feel good that we could do that.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about, what else do we need to talk about?
I don't know, but I'm starving. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm gonna peace
Well,
out.
we've all been like knocked in, knocked out. Only Emily and Angela have held strong. We're at the
Well, I had
end
to
of
turn my camera off for a minute because I'm on my phone because my Zoom wasn't working on my laptop. So I've just been like, that's why I'm like in this like awkward dark lighting right now. And like, I'm
You
like,
see the
wow, do I
halo?
really look like that? You know?
There's the angel. I'm an angel.
Yeah. And I'm like the devil.
I have my firewood for the winter, so I'm ready to go.
I love it.
You're in your lumberjack phase.
Well, I would say, just on a closing note, I would say that really quick, what we anticipate happening, Rosengart said it. Stipulation determination is literally as easy as them asking for it now because Vivian can't back out. She already agreed termination was appropriate. Remember when she filed that motion to try to be sneaky? So he could terminate this conservatorship at any time between now and the 12th, but the 12th is the end date. It's the end zone. It's a touchdown. If it hasn't happened on the 11th, it's happening on the 12th, right? But we could see some of that in between now and then. And hopefully, if Vivian keeps up the good work at being horrendous, we'll see some really fun advocacy from Rosengart as he forces her to give him the information that he's been requesting since he's been on this case in July.
Yeah.
Do you think she's going to fight this like tooth and nail? Or do you think she's going to like attempt to throw other people under the bus first?
I think she's going to fight certain things and drop others. I mean, she's going to have some scapegoats that she can like offer up, but she's going to fight the big stuff tooth and nail until she either gets out of this country or she's delayed this process so long in her mind that, it's not as ugly at the end as it could be if everything was out right now. But I mean, the hounds are loose, man. The New York Times are nipping at her feet. Lou Taylor, what was the assistant?
Robin Green.
Oh,
Her, yeah.
she should hide her shit. This is not a threat.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
You're disturbing. You're a disturbing human. And I hope one day your children put you in a conservatorship and never let you out.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Just like the worst. It's like, oh my God. Like, that's like, oh, you couldn't work. Like, yeah, that's like, oh, how do you get away with that?
She's going to work on her birthday. She doesn't have money for Skechers. I will beat you with the Sketcher, Robin. I will pick it up out of the store and get you for real.
It's just the most like asinine, like none of the things that they fought her on make any sense at the end of the day.
It was so
all control. And
humiliation. Humiliation.
And like
humiliation.
Isolation. And like, no wonder this went on for 13 years before that's like, okay, so that whole thing about her, the police that day before the initial hearing where she testified, have you all seen that? Where like, she called them twice and then reported like conservatorship abuse. It's so sad that it took to this point for her to like, A, know that she had that right, and B, to like feel that she even had like enough of a voice for people to listen to her. Because I don't think anybody, despite her years of pleading with the court, no, like we were talking about, no one ever listened to her. So it's a really insane moment right now.
And I will tell you too, I see her today, seriously, as one of the strongest women that we'll ever know of. I mean, the gaslighting that she had to go through. I'm the type of person that like, I'm going to fight and I'm going to fight and I'm going to fight. But then at the end of it, if you have broken me down to that level, I can't imagine not crawling into a hole and just disappearing.
I didn't think about that. And then it's like 13 years of that. And then it's like, God, even pre-conservatorship. I mean, the amount of abuse that she took from the press, like, and just people, if you go back and like look at some of the things that were said and written and video, like the amount of discussion that was had about her that was just so intensely awful is kind of shocking. So it's sad.
Yeah. But I'm excited for her. I can't wait to see this all the way through to the end, her to be out. And, you know, if she wants to disappear from public life forever and have a bunch of kids and just live a normal life, I would wish her all the best and happiness in the world.
I'm like, girl, do whatever the hell you want to do.
Anything you want to do,
Anything
because
you want to
can
do.
it. Exactly. Anything, for real.
Well,
All right,
no,
guys.
you
Well,
are-
I love you all, and I hope that you have a great night.
I love you. I will see you guys.
Good to see you guys.
We'll talk later.
Bye. Till next
Bye.
time.